G'day guys, Russell here, Prime Motion Training. If you are thinking about applying to join Victoria Police, you might be aware there was an article in the Herald Sun this morning about the number of people leaving the police force, 1,900 in the last 2 years. And they talk about the attrition rate increasing from 3.6 to 4.7. If that doesn't make any sense to you, it's just the number of people leaving Victoria Police. And some of the reasons that they quoted for members leaving the police force, obviously retirement, and that will always be the case. People will reach the end of their service and retire. Some people may have needed to leave for medical reasons, but they put a large portion down to the whole COVID situation and police officers being asked to enforce laws that were, pretty strenuous. And specific quotes are things like, telling kids they couldn't play on playgrounds and grandmas couldn't sit on the park bench, etc. They had to deal with protests and going to the border to deal with border enforcements and all these things that were happening at the time. We all know what happened during that period recently, and it was really difficult for everyone. But for those police officers that were being asked to do things that were really uncomfortable for them, it was a really difficult time. And a lot of the friends that I still have in the police force did not enjoy that period at all. They were asked to do things that just didn't sit well with them. And I suppose in any context, if that happens, if your employer's asking you to do something that you're really not comfortable with, there's two sides to that coin. One is that every job has its good and bad, and there will be times, particularly in policing, where you've got to do some stuff that's not very pleasant. And the need to be resilient and flexible is important for police officers. But there's also, on the other side of that coin, I think a line where for some people it doesn't sit well with their personal values. And if they're being asked to do something that doesn't sit with their personal values, maybe that's the trigger for them to decide, look, this is not for me, I'm not prepared to do that, and they resign from the police force. So a pretty challenging time, both for those individual officers who made what would have been a really reluctant decision. I know when I left the police force, it was nothing like this, but it was a very, very reluctant decision. So a huge call to give up your policing career. But some of the other information in this article talks about the impact on Victoria Police now. The numbers are dropping, so filling different positions at different stations has become a challenge for managers trying to run those police stations. They also mention in the article the difficulty that they're facing in terms of recruiting new people to the police force. And look, this is the part I'm most passionate about, and it's what I do, helping people get into the police force. And I just find it difficult to understand how they can be claiming that there's just no one applying. Now, sure, it mentions there's not a lot of recruits undergoing training at the police academy at the moment, and that may very well be the case. But in terms of attracting new people to the career, at Prime Motion Training, we're helping almost 300 Victoria Police applicants and mentoring them through the application process at the moment. And I know firsthand from working with these applicants that there's plenty of people who want to get in, they just can't get in because the process is taking so long. And it can take up to 4 or 5 months, in some occasions even 6 months, just to have their medical assessment ticked off so that they can progress to the next stage of the process. Now, of course, that's really frustrating for the applicants, and sure, some applicants get sick of waiting and end up throwing in their application and moving on to other industries or applying for other states. And I've got a couple of members who threw in their Victoria Police application, went off and joined Queensland Police in half the time. So there's some challenges there for sure, but I don't believe that it's a lack of interest from people wanting to move into policing as a career. I think it's a capacity of the recruiting team being able to process the applications. That's certainly what it feels like, because again, with almost 300 applicants for Victoria Police that we're helping, I don't see any shortage of people wanting to join, and we're getting inquiries every day about going through the application process and what might be involved. I think what might need to happen is either an increase in capacity for the recruiting team, and they're under the pump, that's for sure, and I'm certainly not going to criticise them, but the capacity needs to be increased, or the model needs to be changed. And I think a suitable model might be to outsource all of the testing phases bar that final interview. So you would put in an initial application that would be basically assessed to make sure you're a suitable person from a character and reputation point of view. They would obviously look at criminal history, traffic history, associations and the like. If they accept your initial application, they would send you an applicant pack, which you would then go through in your own time, take a week, take a year if you want to complete the entrance exam, a video interview depending on the role you're applying for, police or PSO, have a psychological interview, get your medical assessed, do a fitness test, do all of these things in your own time, take as long as you like. When it's completed to the required standard, send it back to the recruiting team, who will assess it, and if that assessment is fine, you'd then be invited to attend a selection panel interview. If you pass the interview and you score well enough, you'll be put onto the waiting list, and then it's a matter of the highest scores, of course, being offered the first available positions. So maybe outsourcing is an option for them. I know from previous news that's come up that the recruiting teams last year from all of the states got together in sunny Queensland to talk about the application process, the recruitment process, and how they could all maybe make it a little smoother. Talking about transitioning from state to state, all of those things were discussed from a recruiting point of view, which is interesting to know that they're all sort of trying to get on the same page maybe. Now, the one thing that Victoria Police seem to be looking at, it might be in the pipeline at the moment, is in regards to streamlining the entrance examination part of the application process. Currently it's conducted by ACER, the Australian Council of Education Research, and they conduct those exams in person with applicants on Victoria Police's behalf. There's suggestion that they might look at, and in fact in January this month, start a trial where applicants can take that entrance exam online from any location. If that goes ahead and becomes a permanent fixture in the application process, that would certainly speed up the process for applicants, and if it speeds it up and the quality of applicants isn't reduced, then I think that's a pretty good thing. Regardless of what they might do with the application process and what modifications they might make, some great news from the article was that they intend to have another fairly heavy recruiting drive, and over the next 2 years are looking for another 2,400 new police officers. So if you're thinking about applying or you're already in the recruiting process, that's pretty good news all round. All right, well, I thought I would just share my thoughts on the article. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to contact me. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.